Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Lead podcast, where our intention is to support the development of future hospitality industry leaders, as well as support today's leaders at the same time. I'm really excited about this conversation as we really get into the communication conversation. So, the topic today is Speak Like a Leader, the secret skill that sets top performing leaders apart. And Kelly, thank you for pulling this together today. It's so great to see you. How have you been?
We have been good. We've been traveling, so you may hear a little background noise. We're hanging out in the Austin airport right now. So, but I'm very excited about this conversation. I have to tell you, I was a good friend of mine. She had shared her travel itinerary with me, and it included, I believe it was being in DC judging a big event that had come up. And she had brought up Jerome as one of the keynote speakers that was there, and how impactful and how the entire room was moved by it. And I was like, hang on, I need to know who this is. And so I have had the great pleasure of following Jerome's journey, speaking in depth about one of my favorite topics, catering. And so, Jerome, it's amazing to have you here today. Thanks for joining us.
I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you have had such an amazing journey in the space. And so I'd love, before we dive into some amazing questions and content, talk to us a little bit about, tell us your journey. Where are you right now? And talk to us about how you got there.
Of course, I'm currently a VP of sales with Tacolicious, a San Francisco-based restaurant group that serves amazing food, drop-off catering, private dining, full service. We just did a wedding in the middle of a forest next to a creek, so you never know where you're going to find yourself, which I love. My career started early when I realized with my restaurant background that I could start a catering company and help pay my way through college. So my wife and I did that for a few years, and I was able to earn my degrees and shave off some of my student loans. I really just found a passion industry and supporting others. I didn't know my degrees meant anything right out of college. I took a job as a delivery driver that turned into a sales manager role. I blinked and I was a director and a senior director and VP of sales, and it's just been amazing seeing all the lives I've been able to impact, both through the leadership I've been able to offer, but through some of the programs where we've given back money to the community. So it's been an incredible ride, and sometimes I have to pinch myself that I get paid to do what I'm doing. But I'm one of those weird people that loves getting up on Monday morning and seeing what I can get into.
Yes, and that journey sounds like it was filled with quite a bit of leadership and quite a bit of people. Right? It didn't happen by luck, and there was definitely somebody there that sort of helped you along the way. Talk to us a little bit about the leadership that you experienced during that journey. How did it help shape sort of where you are today?
Yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag. The very first manager that I had that offered me a manager role was phenomenal. Friday morning call, super energetic, just ready to go and ready to support you. And then things got weird, and I had some leaders who had the title but weren't really as interested in supporting me. And there were times that I would look up and be like, what is going on? Like, who hurt you? Why are you this way? And I realized that I got to decide the leader I was going to be. I could pick the things they did really well. I could pick things I didn't like and do them differently. I could develop myself. There was always a workshop or a podcast or something I could do to get to where I wanted to be. And I think I wish more people realize that they have more of a choice than they give themselves credit for. So we do get to get up every day and decide who we're going to be, which I never want to lose sight of.
And, go ahead, Kelly.
No, I was just going to say, and so, when you when you're thinking about that and sort of how that's shaped you becoming the leader that you are, especially in the restaurant space. But you made sort of a weird tangent into the speaking space and getting on stage and being able to share, your journey there. How did that shift happen? What inspired that sort of like, I can do this type of activity?
Yeah, it's a little ironic. I was awarded a leadership award from the National Restaurant Association last year, which I proudly display behind me. And while on stage talking about my journey and things I'd been through, I laughed because early in my career I was told I didn't have those leadership skills and that I wasn't going to be someone who could lead or inspire people. And once again, I had a decision. I could see that obstacle and stop, or I could see that obstacle and find a way over it, around it, under it, through it. And I realized that there were all these organizations in the community that needed support, that I could go to the local library and I could teach others how to start a business. I had done that. I could teach others how to sell and how to network and how to goal set. And not only was I helping them, but I was improving my confidence. I was becoming a better speaker. I wasn't breaking into cold sweats all the time like I was early on. And I was able to repackage all that and bring it back to work. And it made me better at what I was doing there. But really, the speaking started as a way to look at the person telling me I wasn't a leader and that I didn't have that experience and find a way to go out and get it while helping others and helping myself. And it almost became addictive. I One of my favorite stories, we did a networking workshop. uh, and then a week later, I ran into one of the individuals at that workshop and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I did this, this, and this. I got offered a job. I'm very excited." Oh my gosh, so I brought him into one of the workshops and then he told his story. And then, that allowed him to get some of that experience. Once again, I think we are going to be presented with obstacles in life. And I appreciate that I had the foresight to look at that and to find a way and to get out into the community and to not only improve it, but myself and to help me get to where I wanted to be. Cause I knew in my soul that I could do more than I was being allowed to do. And I asked those above me for that experience, but they weren't in a position to give me that. And that's another thing that I don't want to lose sight of is as I built up those skills, I could bring those back in. And I have dozens of people who were delivery drivers for me that became coordinators, or coordinators who became managers, or managers who are now directors with brands around us. And that's how I look at my success in this life and in this career. How many people can I positively impact through what I've obtained?
And one thing, Jim, if you don't mind, I'd love because it sounds like you've got a story of resilience. Like, I wonder, I'm just curious, did it start as you went into the restaurant industry or hospitality, or did it start earlier in life? Because sometimes the leaders watching these episodes will see the success. But there's always the backstory for the three of us. We've got a backstory and a fight and the scrappy side and the failures, or at least I know myself and Kelly do. But I'd love to hear more about what built you and shaped you because you just have this beautiful care to you that is not common.
Thank you. I definitely started early in life. I got a great environment to grow up in. If you had choice, you would not want to grow up there. And I looked around and I didn't see examples of who I wanted to be when I grew up. I was lucky enough to join a program that you could go after school and you could play basketball and you could play on computers because not everybody had a computer in their pocket at that point. It was just a safe space to explore different avenues. And one of those was a camp they had. And I was able to work in their food service department and try foods that I didn't have exposure to. And same type of story. I started bussing tables one day and someone called in sick in the kitchen and they needed someone to prep. And I had no idea how to use a knife, but 14-year-old me raised my hand and said, "Hey, I'd love to learn something new." And I blinked and I was leading crews there and I was planning meals and writing schedules and I got offered an internship. And sometimes we just have to raise our hands. Sometimes we have to put ourselves into positions that might be uncomfortable, knowing that if we give our space to learn and to say, "I don't know how, but can you help me?" that amazing things can happen. So yeah, I really trace it back to that dining room and being able to get involved. And that allowed me to open my own catering company, which allowed me to stay in the food industry. And well, the industry has given me so much that I'm proud to be in a position to give back and to support my team of 45 or so individuals here in the Bay Area.
And I feel like, Jerome, what I hear a lot from that is just an openness to opportunity. I think you were definitely looking for it, but you were welcoming of those opportunities when they were kind of coming to you. Um, when we're talking about leaders that are coming up in this space right now, and individuals that are maybe in a similar position as you were, any advice to them as to how do you keep an eye out for those opportunities? How do you make themselves seen for it? Any advice that you would give somebody that was in your shoes that many years ago?
Find a mentor or a trusted advisor. I had someone early in my career that not so politely told me I needed to adjust how I was approaching things, and I did not want to hear it. I got very upset when they said it, but the following Monday, I walked up to him and said, "What can I do different?" And I think leaving space to know you don't know everything. I know there are times that I would swear in the past I was 100% right without question. I can look back and say, I wasn't right. So creating that space as well. A ton of networking. You have to put yourself out there. A lot of the opportunities I've had have not just come to me. I have had to go out and find them. And the first job I had, they refused to promote me. And I think there are a lot of reasons. I don't agree with them, but I kind of get them in hindsight. And I decided to not focus on what I couldn't do, but what I could, which was supporting others. And there was a coordinator. I helped him get promoted to a manager. And another company reached out to him for a job. And he goes, "Oh, I'm very happy. I just got promoted. But this guy, Jerome, he did this. He helped me with this. He did this." By the time that company called me, they didn't even want to do a phone screen. They just invited me in. And that was my first director position. And I didn't think helping this person would help me get a new job. That wasn't why I did it, but I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities that come your way, and they may not seem like they're helping, but for me, helping others has self-servingly done so much for me that I if you are in a position where you're trying to grow in the industry, network, have a mentor, and help others that are coming up behind you because you never know where life's gonna go or where things are gonna take you.
Yeah. And I love that. And one thing that I want to go a little bit deeper on, because I could hear it in your messaging, it's just around, and I know that you speak on these topics, but clarity, so and vision and expectation. One thing we often hear from leaders is they're so energetic themselves and doing management by force, like just doing the work and working the hours. But there's this beautiful transition from management to leadership that I think you speak so well on. But what can an emerging leader understand today about the transition of how do they set a vision and get others to buy into the expectation?
I've had a few roles in my career. And one of those was at Le Boulanger, which was a family owned and operated restaurant group here in the Bay Area. Not La Boulange, which Starbucks bought, but Le Boulanger. They're different things. And when I started there, there was a lot of negative growth that year. I started around August and they were down a couple $100,000 for the year. I was able to rally the team. We were able to finish the year positive, which was amazing. It was a great 4 months. But I was able to take a step back at that point and to actually write out a plan, and not just write out a plan by myself, but to take them to lunch and to do little huddles. And what do you see? And you've been here 15 years, like, you know better than I do. Help me help you. And we're able to put that all together to present it to senior management. They signed off on it. And then anybody who was willing to listen, coordinator, assistant manager at stores, general managers, my delivery drivers, we put that message out there whenever we could. Along the way, we would accomplish things. We put up little scrolls on walls. We do little announcements. We had a tree that I cut out of paper that we put apples on. It got weird, but whatever we could do to make it as visual as possible. I share this because at the end of the year, when we were looking at what we achieved, we were writing out all these scrolls so that people could read them. And we realized that we had 20 things we set out to do, and we have 50 scrolls that we were going to have people read. We put confetti and balloons, and we had people pop things. It was just this very celebratory moment. But after everything was said and done, the room was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. And I shared my vision for the next year. And as I went to senior leadership for resources for the following year, they're like, do you need more? Like, what else can we give you? And I think sometimes the best way to search for it is to take a step back, to take a moment to write things out.
Yeah.
Don't build up an amazing team to ignore them. You have these quality people around you, in some cases that may have more experience in that environment. It is foolish to not listen to them, to not take their guidance. Part of that, we had no mission or vision statement at that company, and we created one for the department. And I don't remember the whole thing, but I do remember part of it was we're going to be the best part of everyone's day. And that was giving a box lunch to an admin who was ignored. That was simply just making sure we showed up and did what we were supposed to do. But I think sometimes the best way is to really take a step back and to make sure you're bringing people along with you. I could not have accomplished what I did at Le Boulanger and broken all the records that we broke by myself. It took that team and everybody rowing the right way. But I still have people from that group, and I haven't been there 10 years that reach out sometimes for advice or, hey, I just had this memory pop up on Facebook. We miss you. And um, I, I take a lot of pride in what we were able to accomplish there.
Do you, do you think you were always a very clear communicator, or do you think that that was something that was acquired once you started speaking to larger groups? And if it was something that was acquired, how did you refine that skill set?
Acquired for sure. Nobody ever believes this, but I am an introvert by nature. This is stressful for me. I would much rather be in sweat. Oh yeah, no, when I first started in my sales career, it was very uncomfortable, and I stumbled all over myself. And it really was getting onto those small stages and into those libraries, sometimes with 2 people, sometimes with 30 people, and struggling through it. And part of one of my tricks that I use personally is I remind myself that maybe I'm nervous because I genuinely care about those around me, and I try to harness that to be an energy. And uh, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's definitely allowed me to improve my communication style and how I interact with others, and just understanding that not everybody's the same. Some people talk very softly and they want to match that energy, and some people are over the top, and knowing sometimes that mirroring and whatnot. But yeah, this has been a work in progress and a work that continues to progress. I hopefully.
And with that, there are so many leaders that I think fall into that same bucket of they are more soft spoken and they may not be as loud as I am, or and so in giving advice to somebody that is more soft spoken, how do they communicate? I would say not necessarily better. How do they communicate so that their voice is heard?
Yeah, I still struggle with that occasionally. I think practice makes perfect, and I had one holiday season where I think I went to 9 holiday parties in 7 days, and it was just forcing myself to be out there and to keep talking and to well, yeah, we get to choose. We can pick how we introduce ourselves. We can choose what we share about ourselves, and I think back to how I introduced myself 10 years, 12 years ago and how I do it now, and it's night and day. And I'm the same person. I have the same values and the same skills, but over time you get better at doing it. So as simple as it seems, the more you can put yourself out there, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I'll keep pushing it. If you have an opportunity to volunteer and to get out there, there's so many organizations that you can improve while also improving them. And today more than ever, we need as many people out there doing as many good works as they can.
One thing I just want to, because what I love about being a small part of this podcast is you get to watch remarkable leaders and look for patterns. And just for the audience there, like Jerome, I think you did a master class of storytelling. You're a remarkable storyteller. And I think people buy into rich and vivid stories, not what to do. But just I felt like I went on a journey there with you. But also you shared something a little bit earlier about visual. 80% of us are visual learners or will buy into a concept. And you said like the apple tree might have got a little bit out there, but I'm sure it really worked. Like sometimes if 88 out of 10 people that you lead are visual learners, but we're not communicating in a visual way, like Jerome did, he had record results for the brand that you worked with at that time, but also grounding it in recognition, like just to pause and see the progress that we've made. And with that in mind, there's a lot of noise right now. There's still a lot of challenge in our industry that I don't think is as loud as what some people might be feeling. But if we want just to focus down to what's one message that you really, if you had a chance to relay to every leader out there watching right now, what would be one message you want to instill belief or focus or whatever you feel is most important to continue moving forward in the market conditions we're in?
Yeah, I something I try to do every day, and I may have mentioned it earlier, is I don't want to lose sight through all the stress and the worry because the restaurant space is weird right now, and um, I continue to try to put my people first. In some cases, I can control reaching out to people and trying to bring in more business, but what I can absolutely control is how well we do with what we already have. And amazingly, we've had a few events recently that went extremely well. We had the right people in the right places doing the right things. referrals came from that. And now I have another $4,000 or $5,000 event lined up purely because someone was at that event. Hey, I love this. We'd like to work with you. They got the contact information, gave it to me. We did our part. It is easy to forget sometimes that the people we're working with are people with feelings and emotions, and they're also going through things that are stressful. And one of the things I've done since I've become a director, every manager I work with, it's the same speech. It's my goal to support you personally and professionally. How much personal is up to you. I don't want to invade your life if you don't want me there, but I know what happens at home comes work. What happens at work goes home. I don't want to be the reason that you're angry around a dinner table. So if I say something weird or if I upset you, open door policy, let me know. I know I'm not perfect. I'm creating space that there are times where you may have to correct me as well. But I think it creates the stage for that open communication. And I think people can feel that I genuinely care about them, and that floats out to our customers. And I shared on Cater Linked a while back that our success rate with orders was 98+%, that we only have issues with 2% of our orders and less. And that doesn't happen by accident. It's a concerted effort, and it's a team that's all looking at a vision the same way. So I would say, remember that your people are people too. They are your most important customer. Let's take great care of them because costs are high, expectations are ridiculous. I know when I take my family of six out, I know it, but I still expect a lot. And I think we need to empower our people as much as possible to try to meet the moment as best as we can.
And I just want to say that because Kelly, I think you have a common value there. Like I think the both of you, the way you show up and how your businesses have scaled. And Kelly, I got to bring this back to you because you've inspired me so much since the first time Jerome I met Kelly was over a dinner table, and there's like 15 people lined up along this table. But sooner or later, there's 9 people sitting beside Kelly trying to hear what she has to say. And I'm watching. Right? I was new to the group. I'm an introvert. I'm nervous, and I'm like, what's going on here? But I think the way that Kelly shows up to every single interaction creates this buzz, as you both have, that creates more work. What are your thoughts on that, Kelly? Just as you approach work, or what you've seen with Jerome of working on what you have in front of you today, not just what's next.
I think, and Jerome, you really talked about it. I think as leaders, the more that we can meet our people where they are and roll up our sleeves and not be afraid to be, I think as Robin had quoted from somebody that but right, it's sitting beside somebody, not sitting across from them. It's building those strong teams internally that grows the business externally. And so, really embracing that, I think, is something that I've always used throughout my career is because it makes a difference. And Jerome, as you kind of mentioned, right, it takes sometimes those tricky, tough experiences to learn that this is how I want to represent myself as a leader, and this is how I want to inspire the team that's working for me to be growing and communicating and leading their own teams. Because that's at the end of the day, that's the only way we get better is when our teams get better and their teams get better, and so on and so forth. So I think it's so critical.
And part of the reason for not being able to come to Texas, which still hurts my soul a little bit. We had a wedding on Saturday that started 9 in the morning, didn't finish up until 1:30 in the morning. Put in 20,000 steps that day. Probably climbed 100 stairs, but I was there with the team, and I'm putting ice in bins for the bartenders, and I'm moving plates around and setting tables. And I think that whole don't ask someone to do something you're not willing to do. It sounds like a simple thing, but showing up for your team and working alongside of them, there are going to be times where I need you to go and do this for me and get it done. And I've got other stuff to do, but there are times where you have to roll up your sleeves and jump in there too. And finding that balance between hitting your objectives and also being around your team. I have some phenomenal people on my team, and I'd never know it if I didn't get to go to these events and work alongside them and have those conversations over, a couple crackers hidden in the back when we have a few moments between service and cleanup. So,
Well, before Matt, you bring us out of here, I'm gonna say, Jerome, this is you're on stage now, and you're speaking to all of the emerging leaders of the restaurant industry. Um, what is the one message that you can give to them to become better communicators today? What's one thing that they can implement immediately or start practicing that's going to make them a better leader, but also a better communicator?
ooh, good question. No pressure at all.
Sorry.
Uh,
I don't know,
I,
Matt, it's your stage too. If you have something you want to share.
I saw this. I love the question. I love it.
yeah, I I think we seem to promote people often because they're really good at doing something, and then we're not always supporting them with the skills they need. If you are an aspiring leader or a leader who's been in position for a while, I think switching your mindset from I'm managing people to I'm trying to inspire people. We're not just here to tell people what to do and to point things out. If you have the right team and you're explaining the why behind the what, and you have a plan and there's purpose behind things, and occasionally creating space to say, I may not get this right, but I'm going to make the best choice I can. And if there's another choice to be made, we'll be honest about that. But I think a lot of my success has been getting people excited by being clear and communicative and having those tough conversations sometimes. There were times early in my career that I know I was messing up and nobody told me. And it's very frustrating to think, not that I'm upset with my life. I love my life, but could I have been a little further ahead had someone been brave enough to just have that honest conversation? So remember, the people around you are your most important customer, and you're not just there to say, hey, go do this, go do that. Like, make sure people know the vision, know the why, have that plan in place. It's, I've had some amazing leaders who did that for me, and I would have ran through a brick wall for them. And I try daily to be that for others because I know one day these individuals are going to go on to lead teams, and I hope that that will keep reverberating out into the universe.
Kelly, any what about yourself, Kelly? And what can you see people around you to be better communicators? So quick rapid fire. We'll both close this out.
Gosh, better communicators, I would say, and I think maybe I said this on an earlier episode that we did, but taking the time to pause, taking the time to really, be mindful about what you're saying and who you're saying it to, and just thinking a little bit. I think we all work in such a fast-paced, decision-driven world, and so we're very quick to, want to respond to something or get a decision or get something done. And I think just taking that time to give yourself some space, give somebody else some space, I think can be really impactful in not only your leaders, but your relationships as well.
Love that.
So, Matt, what about you?
I just like the one I'm just thinking about from both of your shares today and the emerging leader and thinking about what can get in the way. So for me, I grew up with a learning disability, couldn't communicate, introvert, and had to make a choice around, what was next for me because learning was difficult. And I was the one in my way. But when I started to realize that most people around me were cheering for me and wanted to see success, and then I had to go do the work. Like both Kelly and Jerome have done the work and I've had bad communication. I've made my mistakes, but I've learned from it. And I think it is a learned skill. And if anything, if you can learn into your communication style and your ability to connect. Again, I'm not looking to communicate. I'm looking to build friendship and relationship or trust inside a team so we can do what we want to do. But it all has to start somewhere. So I think just if there's one thing to accelerate your leadership journey, lean into how you connect with your people, but it comes back to what Jerome and Kelly said. It's I care about people as both of you do around me, and I want to support them and help them get towards their goal. That's it's a bit of servant leadership there. So I want to thank you both for an incredible episode, Jerome. I just appreciate your communication style and flow. And I talk a lot, but I can really hear you, and I really hear you, and I appreciate your leadership. Kelly, anything to close this out?
Yeah, Jerome, thanks for making this such an amazing episode. We're excited to share this with everyone. Thanks for everyone for listening, and we'll catch you at the next one. See ya.
Thank you.